Hey folks, welcome back to Game Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news, the industry, and of course, stream for fun. Today we're talking about Routine. Now, this was a small game that just came out this month, and I'm doing my final review on it, so there's not going to be any spoilers. But we're going to go over the story, the gameplay, the game mechanics, the performance and visuals, the sound design, the reception, my personal score, and my final thoughts at the end. So it'll be a little long because there is actually kind of a lot to cover here for even though it's a pretty small and simple game. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So, the story itself, well, there's a problem at a base on the moon, and you've been called to help fix what's going on at the base. You quickly realize that something is off. There's no people, some lights are on, and there's a lockdown. The gameplay itself, it's all in first person view. You have an FOV slider, which is actually really nice. And you're able to crouch, you're able to lean side to side, you're able to sprint and also walk slowly. And basically, if you've played Alien Isolation, this is pretty close. The atmosphere is thick in the game. I generally feel uncomfortable, to be honest. I always feel like there's kind of something around the corner, and I'm always kind of on edge when I'm hearing stuff for the first time because I wonder if it's something coming out to get me or some new enemy I haven't seen yet. A lot of the game is dim, dark, and there's even some places that are absolutely pitch black. Thank goodness you have a flashlight. And those suck because that's when they really play into your fear and psyche. You can pick up some items, but it's pretty minimal. You just have to be close enough and you have to look at it directly. It's kind of more like a PC point and click kind of a game. And yeah, your cursor is basically always in the middle of the screen unless you're interacting with a kiosk. So the thing, too, that I think is interesting is, again, there's not very much to pick up. Some batteries. You have a tool that you can hold in your hand. And then there's also pieces of paper and clipboards and stuff like that. And there's also some interactive things on the side of walls or maybe in a chamber or a room or something. But again, generally speaking, it's you just kind of walking around and exploring. And while that can sound kind of boring, it's actually fairly good. There is also no New Game Plus, so once you've beaten it, you've basically beaten it, and as far as I know, there's no alternative ending. Having gone through it twice now, it basically plays out exactly the same. The game, too, is roughly probably be beat in roughly 5 to 8 hours, depending on how you're playing. Maybe you'll do 10 if you're really, reading everything, or you're kind of a slow reader, maybe, like myself. I think I had 12 hours or 13 hours. Some of that, too, was just idle time because, I had to deal with my kids or my wife needed me for something real quick or whatever. But generally, yeah, it's a pretty short game. The game mechanics themselves, well, your main tool is your eyes. It's not something you would generally expect, but you do need to be aware. You do need to be observant. Those are incredibly important. Nothing is really highlighted for you. Nothing is catered to you. Nothing is designated with dots or markers or whatever, okay? This is going to be a pretty realistic feeling environment. And while that is taking a little bit to get used to, roughly the first 30 minutes maybe to an hour, you're going to begin to enjoy it a little bit because you just realize how much now is reliant on you and you have to be invested in the game that you're playing. And now when you're playing other games that are AA or AAA experiences, generally stuff is marked, things are generally broadened and made easier. But yeah, when it's just all on you, man, that really changes the experience. And we don't have too many games like that today anymore. You also have something called a cat, a tool that basically helps you survive, see things that you otherwise wouldn't, and also progress throughout the moon base. The cat, too, does, again, run off of batteries, but you can't carry these. You can only replace one when you've drained some of your battery or all of your battery in your cat. And you can only have one battery at a time in your cat. And that's pretty much the mechanics. I mean, it's pretty minimal. The performance and visuals, even though it's built in Unreal Engine 5, the frames are extremely stable on Xbox. I am pretty much hitting 105 to 119 all the time, regardless of what's going on. Quality mode is again a fairly consistent 60 frames per second as far as I saw. I didn't play too much of that. I prefer performance and I wanted to get on with the game because I was excited for it. But yeah, the little bit that I did see in the beginning, playing around for, a few minutes, the quality was definitely still pretty stable at around 55, 60 frames per second. The visuals, it looks real. I'm serious. Straight up, it looks real. The documents, the lens flare, the lighting, the textures, all of the reflection of things off of tile and metal and water and fabric and the shadows. I mean, it looks really good. And that level just takes you into this next level immersion that you're having in the game. And then coupled with that with the audio design, well, we'll get to that in just a second. You do also have a chromatic filter, which can make definition sometimes look a little bit off on thin items, excuse me. And I've talked about that before in Unreal Engine with the chromatic filter, is that, yeah, that can kind of somewhat get in the way, kind of break that immersion a little bit if you're paying attention. And hey, if not, yeah, you're just enjoying the game. Nothing wrong with that. There is also really bad ghosting, especially the darker the area. So if it's pitch black and you have your cat in front of you and you're waving that around or moving around a corner or whatever, then you're seeing the ghosting of your cat over the black shadow. And that is pretty distracting. And if you're in a dark room, it's actually kind of blinding. I play on a OLED LG TV, and it's a 55-inch, and I play generally in the pitch dark when I'm playing video games. And let me tell you, that ghosting, it's just like, it's a little much. So it would be nice if they could actually fix that. Also, too, if there's like water dripping down or something else floating around in the atmosphere, you'll kind of get this weird kind of like ghosting pattern where like it's almost kind of like you're hallucinating maybe, or like time is slowing down for you. And again, you'll get this kind of ghosting pattern. And that can also make sometimes things hard to see. So it'd be nice if they could actually fix the ghosting. There's also some shader problems, especially through chapter 4 through 6. I noticed it the most in actually chapter 5. Is that the shader issues are kind of like blinking and blipping in and out a little bit and having a hard time deciding exactly where they should be or how that should be rendered. And the environment isn't changing at all. Nothing is coming over the object or changing the shadow. It's just you slightly shifting your position or being in a spot where it's trying to dictate exactly where you are and how that shadow should be placed. So you'll get this weird kind of like blipping back and forth, or this kind of jittering or stuttering of some of those shadows. And yeah, this I didn't really notice between chapters 1 through 3, but I definitely noticed this between 4 through 6. Let's talk about the sound design. It is peak. It is good. I mean, if I thought Chronos the New Dawn was good, again, this takes it to a whole new level, but they're using multiple things here for this level of kind of horror immersion. So while some of the things aren't necessarily really that scary, and you have the ability to defend yourself, just the way that the first person view is, and you have that FOV slider, and just how everything is dim and dark, but then the sound design, it's like really pinpoint accurate. Or if something's really loud, it's just all encompassing and you're not exactly sure where that is. And some parts are definitely going to make you jump a little bit, are going to make your blood pressure go up. And that's great. That's what we would expect from a horror game. Again, if you really enjoyed Alien Isolation, you're probably going to enjoy this game. I highly recommend you check it out. And again, it is on Game Pass Ultimate. It's also on PC Game Pass, I believe, as well. And if you don't have either of those, don't sweat it. It's $25. But yeah, the audio design, just the crinkling of the fan and the scraping of something on metal or wood or audio recordings on old cassettes from the 80s on cassette tapes. I mean, it sounds good. It sounds correct. I'll say it that way. And just the positioning of the sounds to where you are in relation to your body, it sounds like you're really kind of there. Like they did a wonderful job. Don't stop, guys. Keep going. Awesome job on that. The reception for the game, Metacritic had a 79. The users had a 7.5. OpenCritic had a 79, and there's not enough reviews for players. They need at least 20, so that is just not applicable. My score personally, it's dynamic because I understand what the studio went through that made this game. So with that in mind, it's roughly somewhere between a 6 to an 8. is what I would say. It's $25. It's on Game Pass. It's 5 to 8 hours. But the great thing about the game, there's no big bugs. Again, a little bit of those shaders, that was pretty much it. I wasn't dealing with anything else. But yeah, there's no big bugs. There's no game progression problems. It's perfect atmosphere. Almost perfect visuals. Perfect frame rate. It's a good story until the very end. In my opinion, the ending feels weak, and there's not enough meat on the bone. And two, the ending actually comes up pretty quickly. You think maybe there's maybe some more stuff to do, and then it's like, oh, okay, we're kind of done now. Me personally, I think the game is too short, especially for a game that was roughly 10 years in the making. You expect there to actually be more. But again, they had a lot of stuff happen with their studio. So if you've been waiting for a long time for the game, you'll probably be disappointed in this. You'll probably have that lower score, like a 5 or a 6. But if you're like me, knew nothing about the game, and you played it, you're probably around a 7 or an 8, where you really enjoyed it. And again, if you're just not into these type of games, you probably quit, because I was jumping out of my skin a few times. So what ultimately happened with the development of the game? Why did it take so long? Well, Lunar Software, the developer, was formed in September of 2011. Routine was actually announced in 2012, and then initial release was actually slotted for spring of 2013. Boy, what a different time back then. I miss it, don't you? The game was built in Unreal Engine 3 and was financed through personal savings. They actually basically worked out of a basement or like a garage. It was just a couple of people, maybe 3. The game went through several revisions, though, due to the dissatisfaction of the direction. Ultimately, money ran out and development was paused. The game also made a transition during this time to Unreal Engine 4. And the pausing happened basically into roughly 2017. 2018. I hope that's correct. It was a little muddy on the details. Lunar did secure a deal ultimately, though, with Raw Fury, the publisher, and they also moved the game now to Unreal Engine 5. With the additional support that they had for art direction and narrative, they were finally moving forward in the game with the new money that they had. Raw Fury also had a deal with Xbox to ultimately get the game on Game Pass. So they also got paid for that. At least Raw Fury did. Maybe a little bit of insurance to make sure that they got paid something for the playtime with people playing it. But yeah, seriously, guys, if you have Game Pass and you like Alien Isolation or think you'll like horror, I mean, definitely play this. You'll enjoy your time. The game was ultimately re-announced in June of 2022, which is when I first saw it, and then the actual release date was 2025. Which was this month, December 2025. So my overall final thoughts for the game is that, the game coming out at all is basically a miracle. The fact that it's gone through Unreal Engine 5 or Unreal Engine 3, 4, and 5, it's had financial issues. It was paused for a few years. It's crazy. It's pretty amazing that this was actually able to get finished. There's also a lot of stuff, too, that seemed to actually be cut from the game. So there was permadeath. There was also maybe no saves. There was also enemy learning and changing in tactics and stuff. But again, none of that really happens. Also, too, the focus was maybe a non-linear story, but they decided to go with a more linear experience. And, you'd be able to kind of maybe go in some other places as well if it was a non-linear story. But it would also be more difficult because maybe you're not exactly sure where to go. Because there's no map. It would have been cool to see a little bit more expansion in Routine in the game, because you can tell where they were going. You can tell that they really have something there, that they have a vision for this game, that they're pushing it that way, and they also want to have a life lesson, which I think there's at least about 3 of them if you're going through to the end of the game. And most people, too, that played it did actually get through the entire game. It's not like some people just kind of started and then a lot of people quit partway through. But the game is also quite short and small, so it's just not quite enough meat on the bone for me personally. And again, it's not like this is a remaster or remake. This is like a full game release, and I think they did a good job. And one of the puzzles, I have to admit, I actually had to look up a little bit because I did get stuck, and I was tired of the stress. So I yeah, I did finally look it up after about an hour probably of poking around and trying to figure stuff out. It's probably almost an hour. But yeah, the fact too that they could have put more things into the game, that there could have been a bigger experience, but man, just kind of ran out of money. It was just kind of paused, sat on the shelf for a while, but I am glad it finally came to market. So my personal message to Lunar is keep going, guys. Make something else. And whether it's exactly related in the same area or kind of the same corporation or whatever, keep it in the same universe. I think you have something that you can really build on here for the experience, but definitely make a bigger game and make something that's a little bit more satisfying at the end. I was expecting something a little bit more, but I just didn't really have that hook. It was just kind of like, here's all of this experience, here's all of these things in mystery that I'm trying to figure out, and then bam, it's just all just kind of laid out for me, and it's over. And that wasn't super satisfying. So something I would have liked is to maybe figure that out, or maybe have a choice at the end of the game of maybe what I would like to do or what my choice would be, or have some alternate endings, something that I can kind of play around with and feel like I'm not just watching it unfold at the end. That would have been kind of nice. That would be my suggestion anyway. But yeah, you guys have something. Yeah, I liked it. I really did. But I just wish, some of those things were fixed. And again, just the quality control, freaking awesome. I mean, Unreal Engine 5 has been a pretty brutal year this year for games. And I've played a lot of them that have been made in Unreal Engine 5. And boy, they just run like garbage. Hot garbage, straight up. And it's wonderful to see a game that runs pretty much perfect and looks incredibly good. And man, I want you guys to make another one. I really do. Keep it on the moon. Pick a new moon, like a moon around Jupiter. Make a new story. I don't care. I mean, yeah, but I think you really have something good here for a genre, because the way you used your sound design, the way you used the environments and stuff, and yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm trying to be careful. But yeah, you guys did a good job, honestly. I hope you guys hear this, because I can see what you're going for. I can see what you're trying, and I just want to encourage you guys to keep going. Wonderful job. So yeah, that's kind of my dealie. Thanks for tuning in, folks. You can always follow me over at Gaming Garbage 22 over at YouTube. We have various content every single week, me, myself, and I. And hey, if something isn't for you, don't sweat it. You can always skip right on through and wait for the next thing. There's something always coming down the pipe. There's also playlists if you're interested in certain particular things, whether it's playthroughs or reviews or gaming news or whatever. Then we have playlists all spread out for that, for your enjoyment, so that you can find it all. Also, too, if you'd like to follow me over at Twitch, you can actually watch me stream. And yeah, when I'm playing video games, I'll definitely chat with you guys. Just let me know that you guys are there. But hey, you can be a silent partner too. That's totally okay. So with that, folks, yeah, my final score. I really liked some of the elements of the game, which is why I give it an 8 out of 10 in those elements. But the satisfaction of the game is probably a 6. Yeah, that's just where I'm at. So with that, folks, I'll see you guys on the next one.